All right, ever walked into a classroom and felt like you stepped right into, I don't know, a sci-fi movie?
Haha, I can't say I have.
Well, that's what we're looking at today. AI-powered schools in China, it's pretty wild.
Definitely cutting edge stuff.
Yeah, we're talking robots roaming the halls, virtual reality field trips, kids coding before they even know their ABCs. It's all happening.
And it's happening fast.
Oh, for sure. Our source material for this deep dive is this awesome YouTube video from Project China.
I saw that one. Pretty fascinating.
Right. The title is, "This is how China is making the classroom of the future AI in smart classrooms." So the big question is, what can we learn from all this? What does it mean for the future of, learning, period?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think what strikes me the most is how China's basically using their schools as like a testing ground for the future. I mean, while a lot of other countries are still sort of debating the whole, technology and education thing, China's just going for it, full speed ahead.
It's true. Like, they skipped the whole pilot program phase and jumped right into implementation.
Exactly.
And they're not just dipping their toes in the water. They're like doing a cannonball right into the deep end, you know?
Yeah, I like that analogy.
The video really zeroes in on Shenzhen. For anyone who doesn't know, it's basically like Silicon Valley, but like on steroids.
Yeah, a real hub for tech innovation.
And the schools there, just as cutting edge.
They really are a model for how tech can be, seamlessly woven into the whole learning environment.
Totally.
We're not just talking about swapping out chalkboards for digital ones here.
Right.
This is about creating a totally immersive experience, an experience that really gets students engaged on a whole new level.
Okay, so picture this. You walk into a classroom and boom, there's this massive high-definition digital whiteboard.
Oh, wow.
It takes up the entire wall, right? And then you've got these interactive projectors beaming lessons onto every surface.
That's pretty high tech.
Oh, and I almost forgot. Every single student, they've got their own tablet.
Wow.
It's like, stepping into mission control, but for learning.
It's like bringing textbooks to life.
Right. Something traditional classrooms could only dream of.
That's for sure.
I mean, it's not about memorizing boring facts anymore.
Nope.
It's about experiencing them, interacting with the material, getting your hands dirty.
Virtually.
Virtually, of course.
Ah.
And it's not just about passive learning either. They've got whole robotics labs where students are building and programming robots.
I saw that. That's so cool.
Right. They're not just playing with them. They're actually creating them.
Really getting hands-on.
And get this, AI experimentation. It's part of the standard curriculum now. They even have coding classes for kids who are barely out of diapers.
Wow, they're starting them young?
They're basically creating a whole generation of little tech wizards.
Yeah, it's impressive.
And here's the kicker. This isn't just for, some elite group of students. This is for everyone. Yeah, it's happening in regular schools, reaching kids from all sorts of backgrounds.
That's great to hear. It really speaks to China's commitment to making sure every student is ready for a future that's, totally tech-driven.
Exactly. They're investing a ton of resources into making this happen for everyone.
Good for them.
Now, let's talk about the real game changer here.
Yeah.
AI. In these classrooms, AI isn't just like a fun little extra. It's a full-on teaching partner.
Right, I was going to say.
We're talking personalized AI tutors that work one-on-one with each student.
That's amazing.
I know, right? Adapting to their learning style, their pace, everything.
It's like having a personal tutor who's available 24/7.
Exactly. And a tutor who knows exactly how to challenge and motivate each student, too.
Yeah, that's key.
Imagine you're struggling with, algebra. Instead of feeling lost in a crowded classroom, your AI tutor steps in, makes some fun exercises for you, and guides you through it all at your own speed.
That's personalized learning at its best.
Right. It's learning that's tailored to your needs, delivered in a way that keeps you engaged and motivated.
It makes so much sense.
And while some people might be worried that AI will, replace teachers, it's actually designed to help them.
I was wondering about that.
The video showed how AI can help teachers analyze classroom dynamics, see how engaged students are, even figure out which teaching methods are working best.
That's really cool.
It's like giving teachers a superpower. They can understand their students better and plan their lessons for, maximum impact. They're not just guessing anymore. They have real data to back them up.
That's a game changer.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's not just about screens and algorithms either. The video also highlighted how these schools prioritize the well-being of their students.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they've got all these intelligent lighting systems that change with the natural light so kids don't strain their eyes.
That's smart.
And they've thought about everything. From desks and chairs designed to be comfy during those long study sessions, to scheduled nap times to make sure everyone is well rested and focused.
Nap times in school?
Yep. They even have air purifiers in every classroom to help with pollution.
Wow, they've thought of everything.
It's a really holistic approach. They understand that a student's physical and emotional well-being is just as important as their grades.
That's great.
So we've got cutting-edge technology, super personalized learning, a focus on student well-being, all wrapped up in this sleek, futuristic package. Sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's definitely impressive.
But stick around, because we're about to dig into some of the potential downsides too, because there are always two sides to every coin.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm curious to hear what you found. It's true, there's a lot to admire, but like with anything, especially when you're talking about technology on this scale and in something as important as education, there are always going to be complexities.
Yeah, I hear you. It's easy to get caught up in all the bells and whistles, the wow factor of all the tech. But we got to zoom out a bit and see the whole picture. So what are some of the potential downsides? What should we be watching out for?
Well, one thing that jumps out at me just watching that video is how fast everything's moving. The speed and scale of China's changes to their education system, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And while it's great that they're, so committed to getting their students ready for this tech-heavy future, sometimes when things change this quickly, you can run into some bumps in the road,
You're saying it's kind of like they're sprinting ahead without really knowing what's around the corner.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, like building a high-speed train, but maybe not all the safety measures are in place yet.
Okay, I see what you mean. So in this case, what would be some of those potential safety issues?
Well, the video mentioned how China's using a really data-driven approach to constantly tweak and improve their teaching methods, which is cool. On the one hand, it can lead to these really tailored, personalized learning experiences.
Yeah.
But it also brings up the question of, what are they doing with all that student data?
That's a good point. It's one thing to use data to help students learn better, but it's a whole other thing if that data is being used for, other purposes.
Exactly. And we got to remember, this is all happening in a particular cultural and political setting, right? Transparency and accountability are super important here, just to make sure everything's focused on, actually helping students, not trying to control them or anything like that.
It's a tightrope walk, isn't it? On one side, you've got all this amazing potential for personalized learning, and on the other, you've got potential for misuse of data, maybe even surveillance.
Right. And another thing to think about is even if China is working towards giving everyone equal access to education, there are still differences between cities and rural areas.
So even if the technology is there, not everyone will be able to use it the same way or have the same support.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of digital literacy among teachers. Are all teachers equipped to navigate this new world? Can they really integrate all this tech into their teaching effectively?
Right. You could have the coolest, most advanced tech in the world, but if teachers aren't comfortable using it or haven't been trained properly, it's not going to do much good.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just swapping out textbooks for tablets. Teachers need training to really know how to leverage these tools, how to make learning engaging and personalized.
So professional development for teachers is key here.
Oh, absolutely. They're the ones who have to guide students through all this,
Yeah.
Make sure technology is being used responsibly and effectively.
Makes sense. So we've talked about data privacy, access, teacher training. What else?
Something that often gets overlooked in all the excitement about tech is the importance of, good old-fashioned critical thinking. It's awesome that China's teaching kids these test skills, but it's just as important to teach them how to think for themselves, how to question what they see and hear, how to solve problems in creative ways.
So it's not just about teaching them how to code, but how to think like innovators, problem solvers.
Exactly. Are these classrooms encouraging curiosity, or are they just creating a generation who are really good with tech, but maybe not so good at thinking critically? That's the question.
It's a really important question. It's almost like technology could become a crutch instead of a tool if it's not balanced with those other skills. Creativity, critical thinking, all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's where the human side of education is still so vital. Teachers are the ones who can help students become, well-rounded people who can think for themselves, adapt to new situations, navigate this crazy world we live in.
So while what's happening in China is really interesting, it's not like we can just copy and paste their model.
Right.
We have to have our own conversations, figure out what works for us.
Definitely. It's about finding that balance. Embracing new ideas, but also remembering the things about education that have always been important.
I like that. So let's bring it back home for a minute. What can we learn from China, and how can we use those lessons to make education better in our own communities?
Yeah.
It's like we're at this fork in the road, right? Looking at two different ways to approach the future of education.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
On one side, you've got China, just charging ahead full steam with all this AI.
Right.
And on the other side, there's, a more cautious approach, taking it slow, making sure we keep those human elements of learning at the center.
It's not an easy choice.
Not at all. And it's not about saying one way is right and the other is wrong either. It's about figuring out what fits, what works for us.
Absolutely.
Or you got to give China credit for being bold, for trying new things, pushing the limits of what tech can do in education. And, they're making sure everyone has access to those resources, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
But we can't forget about those potential downsides we talked about. Data privacy, that digital divide, making sure kids are still learning how to think critically. Those are all things we got to be careful about.
I agree. We can't just be reactive, waiting for problems to pop up. We got to be proactive, figure out our own vision for the future of education, one that uses technology in a smart way, but also stays true to those values that are important to us.
So how do we actually do that? What are some concrete steps we can take?
Well, one of the biggest things is teacher training.
Right.
We got to make sure teachers have the skills and knowledge they need to use technology effectively in their classrooms. And I'm not just talking about knowing how to turn the computer on, It's about understanding how to use these tools to teach, to create those really engaging, personalized learning experiences.
Teachers need to be the leaders in this new world of education, not just the tech support.
Exactly. And we also need to invest in developing high-quality digital learning resources that all students can access no matter where they live or what their background is.
That's about bridging that digital divide we talked about.
Yep. Everyone deserves an equal chance to benefit from all this cool new stuff.
Makes sense.
And we can't shy away from the tough questions either. We need to be having open conversations about the ethics of AI in education. Things like how we use student data, how to avoid bias in algorithms, how to make sure technology is empowering students, not controlling them.
Those are big questions.
They are, and they're questions we're going to keep having to ask ourselves as technology keeps changing.
It's a journey, not a destination.
You got it. We got to keep learning, keep adapting.
And in that journey, it's important that everyone has a voice, right? Teachers, students, parents, the whole community. It's not something that can be decided just by a few people.
I totally agree. It's got to be a team effort. We all got to work together, share our ideas, and keep our focus on creating a future where technology helps students learn and grow.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one big thing you want our listeners to walk away thinking about?
I think the most important thing to remember is that technology is a tool, just like a hammer or a paintbrush. It can be used to build amazing things, or it can be misused. It all depends on us. The future of education is in our hands. We get to decide how we use these powerful tools to shape a better future for students everywhere.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. This deep dive has been fascinating. We've seen how China's using AI to transform their schools, but we've also learned about the challenges that come with it.
Yeah.
Challenges that we all need to think about as we figure out the future of education.
It's an exciting time to be involved in education. There are definitely challenges, but there's also so much potential. We can use technology to create learning experiences that are more equitable, more engaging, and more empowering for everyone.
Absolutely. And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a real pleasure exploring these ideas with you. And to our listeners, keep those questions coming. This conversation is just getting started.